What's up, guys? So, I originally did a video on this a few days ago, and then I deleted it because I thought it would rub people the wrong way. But then I'm like, hey, what the hey? May as well go for it. So, here's version two of that video. Um, it's about Jordan Neely's death. Everyone's talked about it probably ad nauseum by now. Here's my 2 cents. Um, I'm not sad that he's dead. Sorry. Like, he was a menace. It's been well reported that the dude has been arrested well over 40 times. 40 plus. And several of those occasions were for assault. Man, I'm not trying to deal with this dude. Like, I've taken public transportation, still do, because it's cheaper, right? And because I travel, I don't see any point of keeping a car here when I'm planning on going back overseas and doing so frequently to the point I won't be back here. So I usually use transportation, or if not, Uber, Lyft, whatever. So I see the crazies on the bus and train all the time, and it's unfortunate because the actual social stigma of public transportation, more people don't utilize it, which would be better on the environment and would actually lead to less urban sprawl. That's why you see now in a lot of cities actually making it so that you can't park within the city limits to um, promote more public transportation use. And then where there is parking is very expensive. So overseas, it's quite different. Like pretty much all social economic levels use public transportation to some effect in East Asia. I mean, yeah, there's people who still ball out with cars and stuff like that, but there's not the social stigma that it is here, that is only for the poor and the crazy. And so Jordan Neely reinforces that. He was on the NYC train, which is known for having crazies, and was flipping out, and the Marine put him down. And though it's been now labeled homicide, I don't think that the Marine has been charged or is going to be charged, because most people find what he did justified, and I do too. But everyone's coming down on political sides, which sucks because I've given my political leanings here. Like, I'm progressive, but I also have have my inclinations as a classical liberal, which for some folks might make me seem conservative. I'm not, but sometimes I am honestly jaded on some things because of personal experiences. At least I'm being honest about it. And one of those things I'm jaded about is sometimes dealing with other progressives, because although I agree with over 95% of progressive viewpoints, I hate the arguments that they make for them. And so a lot of these progressives and pro black folks were mad that Jordan Neely was killed, but he was a fucking public menace. So I don't feel sorry for him. And people latched onto the fact that he said he was hungry repeatedly. So that's not everyone else's problem on the train. That nigga better go to a soup kitchen. Shit, there's plenty of them in New York City. And if he was really that hungry, he would have been doing something to get fed, not be on a train harassing people. He was obviously high or having a mental episode. And that happens way too often on the bus and train. With me commuting to work, last thing I hated dealing with was these crazy high ass folks. I'm in Baltimore, so opioid central. Everyone's high off of something or other opioid in Baltimore. Like, they lace everything with fentanyl, like even just weed. So I don't want to deal with folks when I'm on a bus and train. I usually just put on my headphones and pretend to be listening to music just so I don't have a conversation. But people will sit by you anyway, try to have conversations. People will harass you. They'll walk around the bus and train, bothering people. Sometimes people get violent. Some people try to rob folks. All sorts of crazy stuff, right? And I'm no. And he was harassing people. He was a public menace at this point. If he was arrested over 40 times, and people say, "Oh well, he was homeless." Again, not everyone else's problem. Not that I'm not empathetic to homeless people. Like I've done philanthropy, giving food out to the homeless, and actually making meals for them. And when I'm overseas, I actually would buy folks meals. Usually, like the street kids, like I would buy them meals and stuff like that. Because when you're homeless overseas, it's a different deal. Like you're actually like struggling. Here, you can be fat and be homeless. Only in America. But in any case, I don't feel sorry for this nutbag. He was a public menace, and the Marine did as he was trained. He put him down. Now, maybe could he have done it without killing him? Yeah, probably. But also, he shouldn't even had to be in that position to do so in the first place. Like, it's not everyone else's responsibility on the train to deal with someone who's crazy. Like, if I'm just trying to get to work or go home or meet my friends, I shouldn't have to, I shouldn't be uh, basically able to be a clinical social worker at the same time. That's not my role. That's not my position. And even though I was a clinical social worker, if I'm off the clock, hey, that's a different story. I'm still not performing that role for free. Like, according to some of these progressives and pro blacks and others, like, it was the role of everyone there to ensure that this guy could get fed and make it out alive when he's the one who's menacing everyone else. I don't get that. Like, again, I agree with most progressive viewpoints, but the arguments for them pretty bad. I don't care if he was hungry. That's his issue. If he was truly hungry, he would have been seeking ways to eat, not harassing people on a train where there's no food anyway. So he had been out panhandling like most people do who are hungry or whatever. Because I'm not going to go into the conservative viewpoint that most people on the streets are just a bunch of junkies and this and that. I'm not going there. What we know is that a lot of them have mental health issues. That's true. But that don't mean that most of them are also indulging in substance abuse. I don't know the stats on that, so I'm not gonna go with that conservative viewpoint. I will note that speaking from a psychological point of view, a lot of them do have mental health issues, which goes without saying because they are on the streets, right? But the dude was also a menace. He's been arrested for assault. He's been arrested over 40 times. I don't know why that goes over people's heads when this issue comes up. Like, two things can be mutually true at the same time. You can have empathy for people who are homeless, who suffer from substance abuse, who have mental health problems, while also not condoning the fact that people can just menace people on public transportation unabated just because we're supposed to deal with it. No, no. And if people want to really make sure that things like this don't happen, I mean, we already know what steps to take. I mean, there needs to be more involuntary commission to mental health institutions, which was taken away back in the 70s, which is a whole different subject. And let's make transportation less stigmatized so that you have all sorts of people riding. That way, you don't have to only have it for the lowest denominator of folks on there, and then they gotta suffer the dregs of public menaces. Like I said, being in Baltimore, I've seen it all on public transportation. Like they they even did a self defense challenge recently with some of the famous martial arts YouTubers like Sensei Seth and Icy Mike from Hard to Herd and Jeff Chan and all these other folks, where one of the first self defense scenarios was fighting on a bus. And I was like, well, shit, I already got this covered. Like, I've been seeing this since I was a teenager. Like, I know how to survive this crap because I've seen it so many times and have even gotten into it myself as a when I was like 13. So yeah, got that covered. But in any case, yeah, I mean, public transportation is already a fucking shitstorm in itself. And then you got to deal with someone threatening you. You're just trying to go home or go to work, meet somebody to have lunch. And now you got to act in the role as a clinical social worker. Nah, man. The Marines stepped up and and put it into that issue. So if people are mad, be mad at society at large for letting things like this happen. Don't be mad at the Marine. I hope he doesn't get charged, which is probably unlikely at this point. But that's my 2 cents. So I'm just a contrarian, and I know that comes off as a very contrarian view to some of my viewers who, you know, may have been sympathetic to Jordan Neely or whatever, but I just don't feel bad for him because I've been in the role of being on public transportation so many times with people like him, and it's freaking annoying. And think about how terrifying it is for like women and children on the bus, and you got some nutty ass dude walking around claiming he's gonna hurt people unless they give him some food. And fuck him. Bye.